Evelyn to Philip, July 3rd, 1944. My sweet, I meant to write a real longie yesterday, but unfortunately couldn't, as I explained. Ann and I stopped over to Ben's for a malted, and then I walked her home, where we sat on her porch for a half hour and chatted about numerous topics. As is usually the case, we got onto the subject of money. She confided that she has not one single expense, yet she has spent every penny of her $80 per month. When Tony was home on furlough recently, he informed her that he had made an additional allotment of $20 to her from his pay and that he wanted them to save approximately $50 each month, which naturally Ann plans to do. Ann looks wonderful, by the way. Goldie's grandfather and uncle were here today and left a short while ago. They are both swell people, and I certainly hope you have the opportunity to meet them shortly. Her grandfather is a small, well-built gentleman, refined-looking with close-cropped gray hair and well-kept mustache, and very, very religious. He ate with his hat on. Both uncle and grandfather each gave her a $25 bond. I surprised everyone, including myself, with my ableness at speaking Jewish, so that I could converse with her grandpop. He does understand English perfectly, yet he prefers Jewish, naturally. And now, if I may, I'd like to refer once more to that topic I discussed yesterday concerning the situation here at home. I have this to say, that only now, since the birth of Diana, have all parties in question begun to realize my plight and to be understanding as well as helpful. It has been for that, page 2, very reason that I have hesitated to speak on the subject at all. I realized that I was bucking up against a brick wall, for people never really appreciate your predicament unless they too have experienced such. Goldie always thought me ridiculously silly when I made a fuss because Adele wouldn't eat or do something to my liking. She said at the time that she would never be like that. Well, I decreed otherwise. The other day she came damn near having a fit because the baby didn't make a bowel movement. I merely said, "Well, Goldie, I thought you weren't going to get yourself aggravated about those little things." No reply. And now I have decided to spend a few paragraphs on our very remarkable youngster. Yes, sweet, that is true. She is remarkable for her age. She was slow getting started, but she's more than made up for it. So much so, as I shall presently explain, that she had the whole driveway on its ear today. To begin with, she's very well trained, not to mention talented. She's an actress if I ever saw one, and gives expression to her feelings often. She beats every kid in the driveway when it comes to speech, and many of them are months older. Everyone is wild about that pretty Strongen baby. Today, for instance, I worked very hard all morning and part of the afternoon. At about 2:30, after giving Adele lunch, I decided I was going to take Adele and myself out, and to hell with everything else. I strolled down to Betty's and relaxed in a beach chair for a while, as long as Adele would permit, which wasn't long. I was wearing only my aqua pinafore, shoulders bared, and my red ankle-strap shoes, feet bared. I was in the sun long enough to get a nice burn. Petey came along with some film and decided he was going to make a few snaps of the kid. It's almost impossible to get film, and I'm more than grateful when he offers to snap her picture. I've made him promise he will make snaps of her in that page 3 yellow pinafore I bought. The rose jersey I bought is too small and will have to be returned. Adele had her doll carriage. the bang-up one Natalie gave her, and her new rag dolly with her. Petey asked her to pose, and she did exactly that. I don't have to tell you how very difficult it is to get a child to pose properly for a picture, but you should have seen Adele. There was quite a crowd gathered, and they all got quite a kick out of it. She even smiled and laughed when asked. I certainly hope the snaps look as well as she did. She posed with the rag dolly and looked very pretty indeed. Most everyone can't get over how she says yes and no correctly to whatever question asked her. What's more, none of the other kids say yes and no. They merely nod it. Today she invented a new word. She calls pineapple juice a pulpul. The other morning when I was dressing her, she said, "Mommy, shirt," meaning I should put her shirt on. She no longer calls the large bunny Lil got her ba. She calls it bunny, just as you and I would, only more distinctly. And dear, she's terribly affectionate. She never forgets to say thank you for anything given her. She said at least a dozen thank yous for each toy I brought her, though they only interested her for a few seconds. Gives each and every person she knows a hug and kiss when she sees them and calls them by name. I've been wanting to tell you her reaction to Betty's moving, but there hasn't been any great reaction. She understands that they moved and points to the house, that's all. If they had moved out of the neighborhood, it might have been different. And now I'm going to tell you something else. I had no intentions of telling you this, but it may be noticeable in the snaps Petey made of Adele. It is page 4. Nothing serious, thank God. God is always with those kids, but it might have been. I'm telling it to you simply to show you that these things happen in spite of excellent care. I have been singularly fortunate in that I have never had an accident where Adele is concerned. But on Sunday she rolled down the front steps and smacked herself up good, and I wasn't present when it occurred. It happened thusly. Lou and Nana came over to see Adele Sunday morning. Never for any reason are any doors left unlocked, nor were they this particular Sunday. After the visit, Lou and Nana were ready to depart and stood at the front door about to step out. Adele was playing on the porch as usual, with Harry looking after her till I could grab a bite for breakfast. Both Lou and Harry are exceptionally careful where Adele is concerned. Lou had merely unlocked the screen door, and before anyone knew what had happened, Adele went past him and Nana straight down the steps. Her left temple, cheek, and arm were badly bruised, that's all. I heard Adele cry a funny cry and knew instantaneously that something was wrong. All I had to do was take one look at both Lou and Harry, both of whom were afraid to bring Adele into me. It may amaze you, sweet, but I've gotten so that not even that caused me to get excited. A funny fear was in me, but that disappeared as soon as I looked at her. I took her into the kitchen, applied ice compresses, and painted the spots with mercurochrome. She was a trifle upset, so I sat her on the sofa and gave her a toy, whereupon she busied herself with it. In that way, she forgot all about the fall and played and acted normal from that moment on. The bruise has formed into small scabs, and it is almost healed. Flash. Emma just walked in to tell me that Phil has been transferred to Camp Lewis, Seattle, Washington. I think I told you he expected to be transferred, so here it is. Mom weighed herself this evening, and to her surprise, she has dropped 12 pounds from following the doctor's advice and idea of diet. She looks well with, page 5, less poundage and feels fine. I also managed to get another box of candy, and it is becoming more and more difficult to get it due to the warm weather. I got one for Eddie too. I shall mix the two so that both of you will have variety. The candy is O. Henry's and Peanut Chews. I'll make up a package tomorrow, sweet. And now I'm afraid I'll have to sign off abruptly, though I'm very much in a writing mood and hate to, because it isn't nice to type when we have company. I love you dearly, my own, and am, as always, your Ev. Philip to Evelyn, 3 July 1944. Darling Chippy, another busy, mail-less day and still not much to write about. It rained practically all day. I got wet going to the mess hall and returning. In the evening, ditto. A very dreary day, enlivened only by the news of the retaking of Minsk by the Russians. Just won about $7 in a card game that lasted about an hour, and that didn't hurt either. Outside of that, well, how have you been? I haven't been off the station this past week. Think I'll take a trip with Klein soon as the weather clears. We've had plenty of sunny days, but no warm weather at all yet. Page 2. Spent most of the evening debating the merits and shortcomings of the various makes of automobiles. This subject is good for an all-night argument anytime. Right now, I'm ready for the hay. It's just date time, and you're so close I can almost taste you. Gee, but you're sweet, sweet. See you in my dreams, baby. A kiss for the pumpkin. My love to all. Always, your Phil.